Hello, YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about how to actually get better at chess. And I say actually get better at chess because I think a lot of people have a misconception about what will actually make you stronger and will actually help you win games. Most people think that if you learn some positional principles, like maybe you know that in the Sicilian, uh, black has two center pawns and white has one, and you're going to learn things like you want to usually develop your rook to c8 in the Sicilian. Maybe you want to sack the rook on c3. And you want to advance your central pawns. Maybe you want to play d5. Basically, all these things are things you can learn about the opening. They're principles, guidelines you can follow, and they're useful to know. That's definitely true. But none of that will actually make you stronger at chess because while it's important to learn some of this stuff, and honestly, a lot of it you can figure out over the board if you're really paying attention. What's really going to determine, hold on, let me see if I can, okay. What's really going to determine how well you play is how quickly you can calculate variations, how quickly you can visualize maneuvers, uh, plans, forced captures, checks, tactics, and the speed at which you can do this and the accuracy at which you can do this is going to be pretty much the sole factor in whether you've actually gotten stronger or not. And it's going to be the sole factor in whether you win the game or not. Because under a certain level, let's say 2200 FIDE, almost every game is going to be decided by a tactic that wins a piece or more. I think that was a Jeremy Silman quote. Not sure about the exact rating range. But that shows you that what determined the winner of the game was the person who calculated the best or blundered last. And during a chess game, the speed at which you calculate is a resource. Um, you have a fixed amount of time during the game, assuming you're playing a normal game, and you have to use that time efficiently. And if you're spending, you know, 2, 3 minutes on a very basic tactical sequence, um, you just don't have the resources to play the game well because you're just too slow. Your mind is calculating the variations too slow. And likewise, if you're calculating very fast, but your accuracy is wrong, there's no logical consistency to the way you're calculating, you will also lose games because you'll make a mistake in analysis and you'll lose the game. So let's talk about how to improve your speed of calculation, how to look ahead further and faster. And I'm going to start with a pretty basic example here. I'm just going to set up a series of captures. Let's see what I can do here. Okay, so pay no attention to these moves, but so I've set up the board here, and let's make it black to move. So here's an example of where some basic calculation, look ahead, visualization comes into play. You're black here. Do you take on d4? Do you win a piece? And, how sure are you of that? How fast can you figure it out? Do you have tricks for figuring it out, like counting the number of defenders? And can you calculate it manually? And how fast can you do it? So let's just look at an example here. Let's go really slow. I'm going to take on d4. White's going to take on d4. Black's going to take on d4. White's going to take on d4. Black's going to take on d4. White's going to take on d4. And what was the result? Black traded 2 minor pieces and queens and didn't emerge a piece up. So of course there's many different situations where your calculation speed will be important. And I'm just setting up a very simple example to help you get into that increase in speed. So from this position, now a beginner player is probably gonna just like maybe c knight takes d4. And it may take them a very long time. For instance, they may very slowly calculate knight takes d4, and then very slowly calculate bishop takes d4. And they may have to start over a few times. You know, you can imagine a slightly more complicated tactic where it's just they're not familiar with it. And eventually they'll arrive at this point, hopefully. But how can we improve that speed? Well, you know, what is the mental visualization calculation? What is the ideal speed for this? Well, obviously, going this slow is only going to cost you time in the game. If you're playing Blitz, you're just not going to have enough time to do this repeatedly during the game. So let's go faster. Let's just go as fast as we can. I'll just scroll down as fast as I can. Okay, can we calculate that fast? And it may seem like a blur. You know, you might put this move knight h5 into it, and it may just seem like a blur. And you may think I could never calculate that fast, but if you really think about it, you have all the time in the world to just calculate this right now. And let's say this is your speed. Knight takes, bishop takes, right? So knight takes, bishop takes, bishop takes, queen takes, queen takes, rook takes. So how can you improve your speed at just calculating this very simple forced sequence of captures? You know, let's say you start slow. So what you can do is just slowly improve your speed. So let's say you go at this speed, just force yourself to calculate it faster. So you just take, 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 take. And maybe in your mind, it looks like this. Knight takes knight, bishop takes, queen takes, rook takes, right? And of course, it takes me longer to say the moves than it would to actually calculate it. I mean, realistically, if I do it right now, I see very quickly knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, rook takes. So basically, you want to slowly ramp up your speed. You know, do it slow, get used to it, and then just ramp up your speed and just do it as fast as you can. But don't do it so fast that you're basically skipping over the actual logic of the moves. So if you're going this speed, just increase it, you know, like that. That should be doable for you. And then just ramp it up faster and faster and faster. And don't be afraid to experiment. I've never seen anything like this discussed in an English chess book, maybe in some Russian chess books. They talk more about the actual mental processes you go through to calculate moves and how you analyze how you're thinking and how to adjust it. Let's just set up a different example. Let's see what I can do here. Let's say we play knight g4. Bishop g5. Okay. Let's put in some moves here. h6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, queen b6, targeting the knight and the pawn on b2. So, how long would it have taken you in your analysis to get to that point? You know, the bishop's under attack, so normally we don't want to lose a bishop for a knight, so we're going to move the bishop. We're not going to move it to f4, so the first thing you had to see was bishop f4 was not a good square. So you have to improve your visualization and your familiarity with all the geometrical motifs, like these two pieces being a pawn fork away. So you see knight g4, and there's really no other move. I mean, you could calculate knight takes c6, of course, and maybe black will play knight takes c3, and white takes the queen, and black takes the bishop. You know, it's not sound, but it's something you have to calculate. If this queen were on d1, then knight takes c3 would hit the queen. So, you know, if you're going fast, if you've practiced this, if you've increased your speed, you can calculate this faster, and that's going to give you more time in the game for positional factors, for other lines of analysis, for making plans. So let's say we just very quickly figure out, after knight takes c6, b takes c6 is possible. After knight takes c6, you know, knight takes c3, and we discard that. But basically, what you want to get is, most beginners have a very, very slow speed at which they calculate. So what you want to do is you want to free these pieces in your mind to just move across the board very quickly. At first, it'll be almost random because as a beginner, you don't know what moves are more likely to be good. So you're just going to randomly move the pieces around. You know, every thread of a capture, you know, just very simple stuff like that. Every thread of a capture, every check, every pin, every forcing move, every mate threat. You just want the pieces to fly in your mind, and you can experiment with different speeds. Sometimes, honestly, I'm not in the mood to calculate quickly, and I go very slowly, and it's amazing what you can calculate at a very slow speed. But you know, you want to improve, so knight g4, bishop g5, h6, right? Bishop's under attack. First, we're going to calculate bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, and let's say knight c6, queen b6. You're going to have to look at all these moves and just see if there's a minefield laying in one of them. And of course, you'll increase your ability to see these things when you're calculating quickly. You may not be accurate, and really accuracy is extremely important. That's why you've got to start slow and slowly build up your speed. You know, after h6, we got to calculate bishop e2. So you want to get breadth and you want to get depth. So in this line, we're calculating this. Let's say queen b6. And, you know, what are we going to calculate? Well, every move that defends the pawn, every move like knight b3, queen c1, rook b1, b3. And when you're calculating these moves, you know, at first you're just practicing to go faster, but then you start noticing problems. Like this knight on c3 is undefended. So you've got more forcing moves. You got another pin. So basically, you just want all these moves, all the legal moves pretty much, all the threats and captures to be more efficient. You want them to just flow in your mind and you want to increase your speed at doing that. And honestly, I've never read that in a chess book. I've come up to this conclusion by myself and I've worked on it myself. And I have increased my speed quite a lot. I do win games against GMs on the Internet Chess Club. And I honestly think it's because I thought a lot about this and really thought about, how am I thinking about this? What was I thinking about? Why did I make that mistaken analysis? Why is it taking me so long to calculate this? Why do I have to keep starting over? And you start noticing problems you have, like often a problem be like you'll calculate queen b6, knight b3, and then because the queen's still on d8, you'll think you can play queen d7 now. So you have to get a lot of experience calculating. You have to identify these weaknesses you have in calculation and work on them and increase your speed. So I guess that's about it. So I hope this video helped you, and if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up or a like or whatever. So have a nice day.